last week we look at Microsoft Word as a typical example of a word processor. This week we'll be looking at spreadsheet using Microsoft Excel. Note that we have other spreadsheets. Another typical example is Google Sheet, but we are going to use Microsoft Excel because we believe that is the most commonly used spreadsheet. We first want to look at the screen elements so that we'll be familiar with the basic elements of the screen and know how to use them. You will realize that the screen looks quite different from that of Microsoft Word in the sense that this screen is divided into rows and columns. So the columns have labels which are in alphabets. They can be configured differently, but the default configuration gives you alphabets. And then you also have rows which are in numbers. Where each row and column meets is what we call a cell. Cell, C-E-L-L. So each rectangular box you see here is a cell. And whatever you type here goes into a cell. Suppose I want to type, let's say, the heading item in B2. I'll click this cell, B2. So I'll type item. And if I want to move to C2 and type another, let's say, another thing, item, let's say quantity, I can point and click, or I can use the arrow keys to move this active cell. The cell with the thick border is the active cell. So let me use the arrow key, see, and then I can type quantity. I can move on to the next cell and type unit price. Suppose a column is not wide enough, I can place the mouse pointer at the right border and make sure I get a double-headed arrow, click and drag to increase. If I want to decrease, I click drag to the left to decrease. Right, so those are the cells. Remember, each rectangular box there is a cell. And we have all the cells in a sheet. So we'll say in this particular file, we have one sheet. We can add other sheets by clicking this plus. See, so we've got another sheet. And we can rename this sheet. For instance, we can rename this January. So January. I can right click and choose rename, or I can double click and type Feb and press enter. So now we have two sheets. So we have one worksheet here which is called Jan, another worksheet which is called Feb. And these two worksheets are in a file here which we call workbook. So the structure of the program is such that you have a cell like any of these are cells within a sheet, and then you can have multiple sheets in a file which we call workbook. So cell, worksheet, workbook. Right. At the top here is what we call the formula bar. Whatever you type here, you can see its contents in the formula bar. So if I click E2 and I don't see anything here, it means there is nothing in E2. We can edit the contents of any cell using the formula bar. For instance, I can come here and then maybe change the unit price to just priced and press enter. You can also edit the content by double clicking to put a cursor there, and then use your arrow keys, unit, price, and press enter. Or you can click and press F2, the function key F2, to put a cursor there for you. Then you can edit it. So to edit, you select the cell, go to the formula bar, click to put a cursor there, or double click the cell to put a cursor there, use the arrow keys and edit accordingly, or select the cell and press the function key F2. So any of these methods will allow you to edit the contents of the cell. Right, so that's the formula bar. This is the name box. The name box will give you the reference of the selected cell. For instance, if I select D2, I can see D2 here. And in fact, using the name box, you can also jump to a particular cell. Let me go to the name box, type T120 and press enter. Okay? It's taking me to T120. Let me go back to A1, and press enter. So I'm back at the beginning. So that's the name box. That is the formula bar, and each rectangular box is a cell. Right. At the bottom here, just like Microsoft Word, you have the zoom. So we can zoom to actually increase the size or the magnification. Remember, this is different from a font size. Okay. We also have what we call different views, different ways of actually looking at this sheet. And if you want to do that, you want to open the View tab, and then on the ribbon, you see formula bar. For instance, we can decide to hide the formula bar. Now we don't see the formula bar anymore. So if you find a sheet like this, remember the formula bar is hidden. You have to go to View and then click the formula bar to get it back. The headings, we can hide the headings. See? So we don't have the labels anymore. We can even hide the grid lines, those lines we had over there. So now this is more or less appearing like a word processor, especially if we hide the headings as well. Right. So if your sheet appears like this, note that it has something to do with the view. So basically, this will be a brief introduction of the Excel interface. Note that Excel is very good at manipulating figures and answering what we call what if questions. Answering what if questions. For instance, I can have, let's say, quantity 5, unit price, let's say 2.5. Let me type amount here. I can use a formula later. We'll learn more about formulas. Is equal to this times this, and press enter. It's giving me this answer. Now, what if the quantity is changed? What if the quantity is changed from 5 to 10? What will be the amount? Automatically, we get the answer. And this is a basic what if questions. So if you have figures and then you want to manipulate them. And as you change one figure, you want to know how it impacts on other figures. Excel or spreadsheet is the program you may have to go for. It is very good at handling figures. So in brief, this is an overview of spreadsheet.